Bring the meeting to order here. So first of all, we've got two sheets, and I don't know if you all have them yet or not. Okay. So the reason I'm starting this way is there was 6 towns in the revale, and there's some huge changes here. And I don't want to change the format of these sheets because the sheets tell quite a story, but it looks so convoluted with all the changes. So if you start right with 2023's, you can see that it shows basically everybody's going down. Well, that percentage is the rate, and the rate's going down because the values, we've gone from 5,200,000 in equalized taxable value rate up to from 5.2 billion to up over 6 billion. And so that changes everything. So if we take the one that happens to be the highest, you've got, as far as the highest decrease in value on the rate, of course, we all know that's Easton. It looks like they're down nearly 98%. The reason being it went from 306.20 to 6.25 per thousand. If you look over at the line next to that, it says 625 per 100,000. When you get down to the 22 rate and look at Easton, you'll see that's even lower than the 661.39. But then you have to realize that what was a $100,000 house in Easton might now be 120, 130, 140, makes it a lot higher. So the numbers, this sheet does not lie, but the sheet doesn't tell the whole story, and we need to understand the whole story because there's no way everybody in the county is going to pay less tax. That's not how this is all going to work out. So I don't want anybody to be deceived by what it's showing is the tax rate's going to. There's going to be winners, there's going to be losers, and all those in between. So I got Laura here if there's anybody that has any questions on how any of this works, because it's something we never take time to do in our committee meetings, and I knew I'd have everybody's attention at this at the beginning when you see how convoluted it is right at the moment. I thought it was the best time for anybody to ask any questions on how this is set up, because you're probably not going to have a good understanding until you see the bills. But I think that's the best way I can explain it. Now, Laura, was there anything you wanted to add to that?
Not really. I mean, what we're looking at is when the apportionment of the tax rates are done, it isn't on the taxable value of your town, it's on the total assessed value minus your roll section 8. So if you look at that first column, the total assessed value, and if you have railroads, of course, it's the taxable. But it's based on the total assessed value minus your wholly exempt properties at the very end. So it's not on your taxable value, and some of you have large taxable, your taxable value and your assessed value can vary extreme if you've got a lot of veterans, a lot of senior citizens, and that kind of thing. And if you don't, it would be the exact opposite way. But that's how we calculate it. And as Brian was saying, I think that's kind of what he was alluding to is, and I don't want to speak for Brian, but even though Easton's equalization rate prior was 2.16, and we'll pick on him because he's not here, when you equalize that up to 100, it doesn't necessarily mean all the properties in that town or with any other towns that went through a reval. When you take what their equalization rate was last year times their assessed value, when that added equalized, that isn't necessarily what their new value is this year, because of different reasons, different, tables and things used. So that's why there's a little bit, you can't take what they had last year and just equalize it and, now they're at 100. Which most of you people that are on annual updates every year, you maintain 100%, your numbers stay pretty consistent across the board. So that's pretty much all I wanted to.
Okay. And when we just do it numerically, the change, we also can distort across the types of property. So really we look, that's why revals happen in the 10 to 15 year range, is to get rid of the distortion. So if you've just always updated the numbers, that causes a bit of a problem. been through in my town. That's how I started back in 2008, and it was not fun. So I learned well and fast. So just putting that out there so you all understand. So with that being said, I guess we'll move on to the budget message. In your mind, what do you hear, Bill? That's the part I'm afraid of. We're going to think we're winners when we're losers. So I spent some time putting this together, and it was funny because I read a story this morning about Britain and how they went from the best economy in Europe to one of the poorer ones, and I thought it was kind of interesting because it relates to our country and our county and a lot of governments. Nothing seems to be different around the world right at the moment, and I wish I had read it a day earlier. This might have been a shorter report, and they basically said that London's problem was they went to austerity when they should have been investing in their country. And I thought that was a very interesting read. I wish I could remember who wrote it. I can't. But it was just a very interesting read how they went and became a capital center of the world, but they forgot about their industrial side, and that you actually need to make things, and that's really what makes your economy work. And here, I'm worried about the same things, that we don't want to let our people that make things fall behind. And so that's kind of where I was going with that. Okay, so the budget message. Good afternoon, everyone. The cover page exemplifies our mission as a board of supervisors, and especially that of the county budget officer. Our county government needs to be sustainable. We all realize that. My job is neither to raise or lower taxes, but to come up with a sustainable financial plan for the county services that we provide so our citizens get a good value for the tax dollars they spend. That has various opinions in what that should look like. These are the strangest times we have had in recent memory, as far as the economy goes. No one could ever have predicted COVID, inflation, bailout money, and especially people not wanting to work. If I wanted a challenge, I certainly got one. We actually have a great financial news in the short term. In the long term, that is anybody's guess. Economists can't even determine when or how inflation will end, and the Fed is raising interest rates at a very fast pace. The truth is we are in a good financial position today. My plan is set to put us in the best position for tomorrow. However, we are not rich. Last year, we never acknowledged that fact. Yes, we have a higher fund balance than we have had in the past, and that is extremely necessary. For example, our new fund balance should be in the $20 to $25 million range. We should not be wasting $280,000 for debt service in the county road budget. We should be funding that with our own money, not borrowing it. We should tax for our actual costs. We have always paid for needs, not wants. We cannot borrow ourselves rich. We actually can't tax for it to get rich either. If we can't keep up, we certainly can't catch up. We truly must live within our means. This year, our assessments have grown by over 15.5%. If you remember the sheet I sent you in the summer of 2020, it gave our assessment history for 20 years. The first 10, we doubled in value. The second 10, we went down in value and back to where we started. Updating assessments is very necessary. What we need to combat these tax issues is actual growth. Amazon coming to Granville will help. The TDI line coming through county helps. I can't say enough about how the IDA handled that situation and the money it will bring to the towns and the county. Dave O'Brien has worked hard on that project and should be commended. Going forward, the IDA will have a big part in the development of the Canal Side Park. Paying the back taxes was the first step, but securing grants and funding for all the different types of infrastructure should go a long way in building a commercial base to shift tax burden away from residential buildings. Economic development is key in going forward, and so we're working with the IDA as well with Laura Oswald. The price of energy is going to make us look at all the ways to conserve and keep costs constrained. I've tried in the past to do things that would save money across all departments, but personal agendas and political viewpoints have made us take the more costly route. That is where our mindset must match our financial ability. Moving forward with the 2 highway barns will also prove energy efficiencies. Just putting diesel systems without gas would probably help. We won't know for a while, but today's buildings should be more energy efficient than the 60-year-old buildings. The last thing on mindset before I go into the budget, too many supervisors look at county government as a zero-sum game. We are all in this together as towns within the county. Hence, we have a board of supervisors. We should not be looking that someone loses in order for someone to win. I don't budget that way. I budget for all to come out winners. I certainly don't budget gimmicks and hope everyone has an appreciation for that. In the 2022 budget, we took huge steps across all departments to increase salaries with the exception of unions that were still under contract. Our administrator did a fine job putting those together with our personnel director. A large number of supervisors expressed to me personally that this was not the year to adjust department head salaries. Therefore, there are none included. There are a number of upgrades, weekly hour increases, and new positions that are added, and the sheet included in this message will show you all of these. The turnover in people has an awful effect on output, stability of departments, and ability to provide services. What is interesting in this is it is controlling our personnel costs at the same time. We can't hire what we need. So far, we are still providing all the services. It is my hope we can hire faster than people retire. Inflation is a tough thing right now, but higher wages to counteract that really is not going to help us at this point. We have done all we can do on this front other than ongoing negotiations. We have to say no to unions that come back with their respective contracts to get increases. We agreed for a reason, but we have to draw the line. As you all know, I include Al and Melissa quite closely in the budget decisions, and I want to thank Al and Melissa for that because it's quite helpful. I believe it is very important that we know that we are taking the county in the right direction and putting money where it is needed most. Because of economic uncertainty on what the future holds, Al has been very forceful in the max carry forward number, which is 3.26%. That has the 23 budget at 3% tax increase with these lines as follows. Contingency is still at $450,000. Appropriated fund balance, the new number is $2,675,934. The amount raised by taxes is $35,872,858, and this puts $564,115 in the capital plan. In the small funds, I want to clarify a couple, starting with carpool. Remember, this budget includes the change of 50 cents a mile for cars that are always purchased from outside money, which is DSS and public safety, and 60 cents a mile for vehicles replaced with county funds. In the 2022 budget, we had planned on expensing carpool for the match of DSS OFA cars, but I'll be looking for an amendment in finance to use contingency money instead. The purpose will be to fund the purchase of a buildings and grounds truck this year instead of in the 2023 budget. In County Road, I have decreased the interfund transfer to $10 million from the $10,000,005 that was in the request. It is up from $9,377,776 in 2022, and I want to remind you that includes 2 years of wage increases because the Teamsters settled after the budget was passed. The adjusted transfer amount is to offset the bridge projects by using $1,352,129 of county road fund balance, which is about a $500,000 increase from the request line. The purpose for this is the bridges really need to be done, and if we can get to them next year, the money will be available. If not, the money goes back into that county road fund balance. I caution that their fund balance will be a little light, and we will have to increase in 2024, but we still are not at the $10,962,343 in 20 or the $10,142,971 in 2016. We're all aware of the price increases in the past few years, and we know how important it is to keep up our highways. I now want to thank Barb Birch for her work on the cover page. She did a tremendous job. Special thanks to Sandy Huffer and Sue Kleiman for the tremendous help in putting the budget and the detail sheets together. And I want to thank everyone in the clerk of the board's office and administrator's office. Thanks to the department heads that do their best every day, not only preparing budget material, but finding cost-saving measures throughout the year. That is why we can return money to fund balance. Supervisors, I want to thank you for trusting me to put together the spending plan known as the 2023 budget. I appreciate your input and support and hope everyone will open their minds to financial opportunities that make real fiscal sense. Thank you. So the sheets that are there, and you can probably start passing out the budgets there. Please, if you would, Sandy. The budget summaries, you'll see, it's a normal sheet that shows you, it streamlines where all the money is coming from and where it's going. The request is in the same format that you already received earlier, so that you can follow the request sheets. The next page is the full-time assessor and the data collector. We came to an agreement with Laura on what the actual data collector was. It's about 75% at the town. About 25% is actually done on county work. The biggest one being the 911 stuff. And so that signifies how that all works out in that scenario. And then there's the other ones compare all the past histories of the budgets in our actuals. So that really completes the presentation. I will take any questions if somebody has something that's special or important right at this moment, but basically I hope you all take time to review them, and we'll see you at finance with all your amendments, and God bless us all. But anything anybody has to offer? Be good. We're adjourned.